to shoulder. Playtime is over. Playtime is over. Now you are a champion. God is my witness. Imperfect perfection. Living my mission and winning. See, we are influencers. We have fear but don't stop. I have the confidence to rise to the top. We are standing bolder, shoulder to shoulder. Playtime is over. Playtime is over. All I need is inside of me. I am enough and now I see, yeah. I will reach my destiny, yeah. I don't need your permission, yes, I'm on a mission, I'll win. Oh, oh, oh yeah. Oh, yeah. Now listen, I want y'all to repeat after me, okay? Cause we're gonna make some declarations in here today. Here we go, 1, 2, 3. I'm building my legacy for the whole world to see. You say, I'm building my legacy for the whole world to see. Say, I'm building my legacy for the whole world to see me. Say, I'm building my legacy for the whole world to see. You say, we are standing bolder, we're shoulder to shoulder. We are standing bolder, we're shoulder to shoulder. We are standing bolder, shoulder to shoulder. Playtime is over. Playtime is over. Hey, yeah, yeah. We have powerful words. We have powerful minds. We use our voices and freedom takes flight. And we're ready to work. We're ready to win. We have a strategy and now we can begin. We are standing bolder, shoulder to shoulder. Playtime is over. Playtime is over. Now you are a champion. God is my witness. Imperfect perfection. Living my mission and winning. See, we are influencers. We have fear but don't stop. I have the confidence to rise to the top. We are standing bolder, shoulder to shoulder. Playtime is over. Playtime is over. All I need is inside of me. I am enough and now I see, yeah. I will reach my destiny, yeah. I don't need your permission, yes, I'm on a mission, I'll win. Oh, oh, oh yeah. Oh, yeah. Now listen, I want y'all to repeat after me, okay?
Hi.
We're going to make some declarations in here today.
Fixing up my hair. You know, look, sometimes the hair just do it, don't it?
Yeah.
Sometimes it just don't be acting right. You be like, look at here. Well, anyway, welcome everybody. Welcome to, and it's still not the way I want it to be, Tori. What's going on? All right, y'all. While I fix my hair and pull it together, we're going to get this show started. Welcome to Impact the World Radio. My name is Cheryl Wood. I am your host. I'm super excited to have you with us today. We have 4 phenomenal guests who are joining us today, and it's going to be fire. I put that on Facebook. Like, this show going to be fire because I love all of the topics that all of my guests are focusing on. And a lot of it is, it really does have a common thread of helping women to be better, to be a better version of themselves, to really get out into the world and play all out, and to use their unique gifts to impact the world and just not to hold back. Like, life is meant to be lived. If we can get to that place, it's really meant to be lived. You're not supposed to exist in it, you know, and then you get to a certain age and you're just like, look, then you have regrets. And we don't want people to have regrets. So that's why we, every week, bring you a host of women and men who are using their gifts so that you can have a model of what that looks like. And so before I get started, I do want to really give a shout out and thank my platinum partners who, without them, the show would not be possible. First of all, Cheryl M. Good. She is the founder of the annual Recharge Health, Wellness, and Fitness Expo that takes place every year up in the Baltimore, Maryland area. Check her out. Google her. That's a little, okay. Google her and find out more about the expo. She also is what we call the recharge strategist. So she is really big on reminding women to recharge their own internal batteries. Because a lot of times we're ripping and running and doing for everybody except for ourselves. And we really need to make ourselves a priority and put ourselves on our own calendars. So she's the recharge strategist. You can find out more about her at TotalHarmonyEnterprises.com. And then Ladrine Peterson, she has a nonprofit component of her organization called Do It. And she has launched this campaign called I Am the Legacy campaign, which launched on June 4th. So Do It has partnered with the Muse Paint Bar at the National Harbor and other businesses. Everything kicked off, like I said, on June 4th at a Painting for a Cause party. The next paint party is scheduled for June 30th at noon. The campaign is all about this idea where Ladrine consistently heard people saying, well, I want to leave a legacy for my children. So she thought about it and asked herself, well, what if? What if we as a community invested in our children now and put them on a track to start building legacies now? So that is what the I Am the Legacy campaign is all about. It consists of 3 primary components. Number 1, there's a youth business pitch contest. Number 2, there's a youth anthology book project. And number 3, there's a youth conference. So if you want to find out more and you want to follow what's happening with this juicy campaign, follow the hashtag I Am a Legacy. If someone could type that in the feed, that would be great. For my folks on Facebook, hashtag I Am a Legacy on social media to learn about more ways that you can support this amazing campaign. And follow Ladrine Howard Peterson on Facebook and Do It Delivers on Instagram. So thank you so much to both Cherie and Ladrine for being our platinum partners. And so moving on, our first guest in the studio is none other than Tori Ball. She's the founder of what she calls Elite Life Coaching. And let me kind of give you the whole meaning of elite. That's just the acronym. So the acronym stands for Elevating Ladies to Inspire Through Empowerment. Okay, it's a life coaching company that assists women in achieving positive outcomes in their lives through empowerment and guidance from God. She's also a blogger. She's a 3-time collaborating author and a life coach to young adult females. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Well, you're looking beautiful, girl. You're looking springy, and I love the colors.
Thank you.
And you're just radiant. Hey, did you see the picture? I swear, out of all the pictures, like your picture was the best. But I'm like, I don't know how that works sometimes. Like you, like it's Mickey Taylor, it's Cheryl Wood, it's all these other people. But your photo just stood out. It was, I mean, the colors, just everything about it was so beautiful. So I want you in your own words to tell everybody more about who you are and what is this Elite Life Coaching all about?
It did not happen overnight. Elite Life Coaching started out of the concept of me just wanting more for myself. Also just wanting my children to see that they can have more. It started just me being a social worker in the criminal justice field and just working with women for at least 7 to 8 years and getting them to get out of the criminal justice system. And I always tell them, don't return back. Getting them to show up. I wanted women to just basically show up for their own life, get off drugs, maybe seek mental health, because mental health is real. We just had Katie Spade that just committed suicide the other day, and then it just came out that her husband was going to do a divorce. So it's more of just getting women out of their own comfort zone and their space to push themselves and want more. Being a mom, a lot has happened since the book has happened. And I talked to Ladrine and shared with her, I recently separated from my husband, and I left because I wanted more. And I think it was just time for me to just say, okay, I can't take this anymore. Could not take this anymore. So now it's full force in having women just basically show up to do what is needed for them to do. Not saying that being selfish is wrong, but there are times when being a mom, being a wife, being a student, you're taking care of everybody else, but you're not taking care of yourself at all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think we all have been guilty of that at some point in our lives. I shared recently that I feel like I'm in this season of discovering who Cheryl is again, because I really feel like I had almost like blinders on for the past, seriously, 14 years. My daughter is the oldest, she's 14. For 14 years, I've been straight like mommy mode. Mommy or business. Mommy or business or marriage, right? One of those three things. Marriage, business, mommy. But it was like nothing else existed outside of that. A big part of that is motherhood and the responsibilities that come with it. And so I recently went to, 2 weeks ago, went to this big conference, and I had to go and buy all these fancy dresses and stuff. And I was like, I was like, I ain't used to this no more. I was like, who? So it's like I find myself in that season where I am discovering who I am, what do I enjoy, what do I like to do. Like when I had kids, I was like 30 or something like that. 30, 31. Now I'm 44, about to be 45 this year. So it is a rediscovering, but I'm enjoying the rediscovery of myself.
And that's exactly where I'm at at this time, because I'll be 42 on Monday.
Yeah. Oh, all right now. Birthday coming up.
So it's a compilation of a lot of things. And I think women, we have so many facets to us that we want to pick and choose just maybe one or two, but we're a lot of things. And I think if women tapped into everything but be organized and strategic in what they do, it will fall into place. And I think a lot of women that I hear say, I don't know where to start. So where do you want to start? Because it's going to start with you and what you seek and what you want out of it.
So when a woman comes to you to work with you through Elite Life Coaching, and that's one of the things that she says, well, I don't even know where to start. What is there a process that you take them through, or is there 1 or 2, 3 beginner steps? How do you encourage a woman to get started?
I actually start from where they are now. What is it that is the most important thing that you want to do right now at this time? They can say, I want to start this business. I want to even just lose weight. I just want to maybe go back to school. I've had coworkers that say, I want to go back to school. Okay, so what is it that you want to do? I don't know. So have you started researching? Have you started getting your transcripts? You have to start from a place of right now. Just don't say, I want to start here or I want to do this. What is the action plan that you have in place? So we start from the action plan of where you seek to have yourself at right now. Not just, I'm going to dream or I'm going to wish, or I wish I can do this. Stop wishing and just do it.
So what I hear from that is, number one, to identify.
Yes.
Right? So you have to slow down, sometimes have to get in a really quiet space.
Exactly.
Because life can get really noisy for us, especially as women and busy moms and everything else going on in our lives. So I would say slow down, just get clarity and identify what is that thing that's pressing on you most.
Right.
Is it the business? Is it going back to school? Is it I want to, move up in my career? Whatever that thing is, identify it. And then what I heard you say is step 2 is then to start identifying, I guess, a continuation of identifying the action steps that you can take to make it happen, make it a reality. Exactly. So kind of like your research phase of, okay, what do I need to do? So if I say I want to go back to school, the first thing I might have to do is pull some transcripts, or I might have to go and get the paperwork. So I
or even do mapping. It's more like mapping. You're mapping what you want to do. And I tell people I constantly map or evaluate every 3 to 6 months. Around my birthday time, I'm always evaluating where was I 6 months ago or where was I 3 months ago? Did I accomplish this? Do I need to continue? It's okay to continue the goals, but at least have a mapping plan and identify what's next.
Yeah, because, I mean, if you think about it, it's not enough just to wish for. It's not enough just to say what you want. You do have to get into action. You have to be in movement. constant, consistent movement. So if I say I want to start a business, okay, I can say that, but what is that first step that I need to take? Well, the first step might be to brainstorm on a business name, what I want the mission and the vision, create a vision statement, a mission statement, and then it might be going to the state building to get the name registered. Like those can be my first 3 core things that I do. Getting an EIN number, so I'm a legitimate business. So that's what she means when she says action. What are the immediate, let's add that to it, what are the immediate action steps that you can take to get closer to whatever that thing is that you say that you want to do? If you want to go move up in your career, okay, what is that going to require? Is it going to require a higher education? Is it going to require a certain certification? Okay, what can we do to start moving that process forward so you can get to the next step? So what do you see has been maybe some of the biggest challenges of women getting started with the action steps and then staying consistent and actually crossing the finish line?
It's the level of comfortability that they're in. Everybody wants to stay comfortable. You can't make a change if you're going to be comfortable. You have to be uncomfortable. The Lord wants you to be uncomfortable to automatically for it to change. So if you want to move up in your field, ask for help. I want that IDP. Ask your supervisor. Help me develop it. Seek out a business coach. I only can do life coaching, but I can direct you to a business coach. Or if you want to do speaking, like for myself, I do the education. I'm in your speaker development class. So those are the things that I want to do to boost more things out of my life. So if you're looking to do more out of what you're seeking, educate yourself. And I think people get stagnated, especially women, because, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll procrastinate, or it'll be another day. Sometimes another day is not promised to us. We have to act on it now.
Yeah, absolutely. So procrastination is huge. I think procrastination is big, and I think perfection paralysis is huge, right? Because we want it to be just right. Oh, I'm going to tweak it a little bit more. I'm going to work on it a little bit more. Child boo, get the thing started, do that thing, and we figure it out. Because I always tell every client I work with that, you know, you can change something that you messed up, but you can't change it if you never start. You can change it and make it better, make it more efficient, the process more efficient if you start it. But if you never started, you have nothing to even go by, as you mentioned earlier, nothing to measure. Nothing to go back and analyze and say, okay, I did it this way. That didn't really give me the result I wanted or the best result. So now let me shift. Let me try this. Let me try. I mean, that's one of the ways I've gotten to where I am in business is that I give myself permission to fall flat on my face. I don't care. I'm still going to do it. It's like, and then afterward, I'm like, that didn't quite go the way I wanted to. Like, you got to be able to laugh at yourself. You got to be able to just keep things moving and be like, okay, it's not the end of the world because it wasn't perfect.
But at least you tried. If you never tried, you don't know what it looks like. Just like with writing. Have you did an outline? Have you did this? I can honestly say for myself, when I write, I feel as though it sucks. But I send it to someone else, and they're like, you really need to continue with this.
So, because why? Because your gift is about you, but it's not for you. Just like your story is about you, but it ain't for you. It's for someone else, and it's not always about how well you articulated it. It's not always that. It's sometimes the emotion and the passion that comes from it. Sometimes it's just spilling out your raw, authentic truth, and somebody else needed to hear it in the season that they're in right now. So, yeah, I think it's very important that we get started and we abandon the whole procrastination thing and perfection paralysis. People don't need perfection. They're not looking for perfection. Because if I show up perfect, what's really the model that I'm creating for you?
I don't know, Jesus.
Exactly.
I don't know.
It's no model. It's an unrealistic model if I show up perfect, because then you feel like you got to be perfect. So I love when I fall flat on my face. I love when I stumble over a word at a speaking engagement. I love when I fumble on a Facebook Live, because now it shows you I ain't perfect either.
And I love when people do mess up, because it says, okay, I can do this.
That's exactly what I'm saying. It shows them a realistic model. It's not an unrealistic model that they can never aspire to follow because you walk trying to be perfect.
I'd rather hear someone's failures and struggles than a success. Because it will outline 100 ways of what they've tried until they got to the success.
And anybody that you talk to who has achieved success, they got a bunch of failures. They have a bunch of failures. The people that we look up to the most, they have a bunch of failures. And that's how they achieve success. In fact, I was at a conference, and I think it was Simon Sinek, I think he said, that success without failure it's absolutely impossible.
Yes.
It's impossible. So talk about another challenge, and you can talk to this of whether or not you've experienced this, but like a lot of the women that I work with, one of the biggest challenges is fear. It's their own fear of inadequacy. It's their own fear of people are going to judge me if I try this thing and, if it doesn't work out. Talk about what you've seen in your coaching practice that you've been supporting women. How has fear played a part in whether or not they get started and or move forward?
I personally have fear on a daily basis, but you're going to always have it. Mm-hmm. You're going to have anxiousness. You're going to have fear. I had fear coming up here. Had fear, just doing things. But in order to get out of the fear and to start someplace, you're going to have to move and do it. And for judgment, people can judge you all day. They're going to judge you when you succeed. They're going to judge you when you fail. Let them judge because you're the one that's making the moves to do it. They're making none. Nothing but complaints and judgments.
Yeah.
That's where they are in the judgment box. You're in the field where you're moving, you're skating, you're doing everything that you need to do, that you want to do, and that God has called you to do. So when God calls you to do something, you basically do it regardless of fear and judgment, because when you operate in God and the Lord, there shouldn't be fear. There shouldn't be.
But let's talk about that. I'm play devil's advocate because people kill me when they say that. Right? They're like, well, God don't give you a spirit of fear.
But
I get that, right? I get that. So from my perspective, and I'm a godly woman, I'm a God-fearing woman, but I still believe fear shows up, and I still believe that it's. They say it's false evidence appearing real. I do believe that in our journeys, fear tries to keep you hostage to where you are, right? So I think dwelling in a spirit of fear is where there's a challenge.
Right,
you can't dwell there, right? Like, so I don't want people to feel like, it's never supposed to pop up.
It's going to happen.
Shampoo, it's going to pop up.
Right, it's going to happen.
It happens to the best of us, right?
It does, and on a daily basis.
And it's just an energy.
Yes.
Like, that's all fear is. It's an energy that's trying to keep you stuck where you are versus you moving forward through it. So it's like every time people say, well, how do you get beyond the fear? You press through it, as you said. You take the action in face of the fear. Oh my God, my heart is pounding. Oh Lord, my palms are sweating. But I'm going up here and do this radio show.
Exactly.
You get what I'm saying?
But afterwards, you calm and you're breathing easy, and you're like, okay, I can do another one.
And that's it. So your confidence automatically boosts as a result every time you press through whatever is that's the fear. So even when I went to this little event, I shouldn't say little, it wasn't a little event. When I went to this event a couple weeks ago, I was in the room with completely different dynamic of success. Like it was next level for real, right? And fear showed up.
Yes.
Because all these women, most of them are corporate. They have these big fancy titles, and they're senior vice president of this, and they're senior vice president. You know how that go. And everybody throwing their title around. And for a second, fear showed up and was in my ear like, are you sure you even belong here? Like, you don't have a big title of a big company that's doing billions of dollars in revenue.
On the flip side of that, they could have been fearful. I met the Cheryl Woods.
Yes.
But you would never know.
But here's the thing. The thing is, for me, fear showed up, and I had to disconnect the conversation with fear.
Right, exactly.
So I had to remind myself, girl, this is what I said literally. I was like, child, boo, yes, you belong. This is how I talk to myself. Yes, you belong here. You done bootstrapped your way here. Can't nobody deny you from where you belong. You belong in this room, right? And here's my husband is one of my, he don't even know he an accountability partner, but he is. And he said, I texted him, I was like, oh my God, all these people with these big titles and everybody's with this big company and this big company. I'm just sure with my little company, right? And he's like, babe, this is what he said. He said, babe, most of them want to be like you.
Exactly.
He said, meaning not me, but most of them wish they could leave their job.
Exactly.
And have their own business on their own terms. So he says that, and I always think my husband is like being, I'm like, babe, don't nobody want to be, right? So we get in these sessions, and what is every person kind of saying? I want to be able to leave my job, and I want to be able to start my own business, and I want to be able to.
There was confirmation.
Confirmation. So every time fear shows up, you got to talk yourself off the ledge. Like, no, I'm like, I'm supposed to be here because you really, really are. And you don't know what's available to you until you walk through fear. You don't know how strong your confidence levels can grow until you walk through fear.
Right.
Like, everything great to me is on the opposite side of the fear.
I agree. Yeah. I really agree.
So if somebody came to you as we start to wrap up and they said, well, Tori, girl, I want to get my life right. And they said, well, how do I do it? What is there a certain program? Is your program like is it structured for a certain number of weeks? Is it a boot camp? How do people learn from you, connect with you, grow with you?
I normally like to do one-on-one.
Okay.
Because everything should not be shared. One-on-one is the best to do a consultation. I normally would give like a 30-minute free consultation. Okay. And then thereafter, when you do book, then we do how many sessions that you feel comfortable with. If it's an ongoing thing, we can do ongoing things. But I normally would like to work with a person more like 3 to 6 months. Mm-hmm. But the consultation for 30 minutes is normally free.
And at the end of that 3 to 6 months, like, what is it that you want to see happen for a client?
I want to see growth and change. Mm-hmm. If it's a small ounce of growth, that's great. Mm-hmm. I always tell people it does not have to be a huge jump in growth. Mm-hmm. Some people work differently. Some people will have a huge jump. Some people have a small jump. Right. Change, regardless of the size, is progress.
Yeah. I like that. I think we should have, hashtag that out and tweet that out and post that out. Say it again. Change
is progress, regardless of the size.
Guys, that's really, really powerful. Change is progress, regardless of the size. Like, you need to write that down somewhere. You need to make a poster board or something. Yes. Yeah. But make sure you put your handle, your social media handle at the bottom of that.
All of that.
Because everybody be saying that. But like, girl, that was Tori. That was Tori that said that first.
Just like I know Impact the World is Cheryl Wood. Mm-hmm.
Well, I thank you so much for coming on. And I understand that you have some books that you want to talk about before we wrap up, too.
I just wrapped up with Women Inspiring Nations with you. That was great.
Sharing her story, yes.
I had previous books with her story, Moments in Her Story 1 and 2, talking to younger women in the books, and then also sharing my story with other women, older women, in regards to sensitive topics in nature. I do have one. I said I would not do another collaborative book, but I'm doing another one. It is Men versus Women relationship book that's coming out in October. Wow. So I'm kind of nervous about this because this is really interesting. We have a Facebook group that's private, but the content on the Facebook page is out of this world. So they already told us this is not a book that you sell at the church meet. So it is a book between...
This for grown folks.
Yes, men and women, collaboration with relationships, talking and discussing different faceted of relationships.
Okay, all right. So you moving and shaking.
Yes.
So you are walking the talk, just like you coach other people and say, be in constant movement and make sure that you're pressing through fear or whatever. You're doing that.
With going to doctoral school, I'm in my second year and completing my last 2 weeks in my first quarter.
That's the kind of coach you want. You want a coach that's walking the talk. Like, don't tell me a whole bunch of stuff to do, but you ain't doing it. Like, I can't know. You need to be the model so that I can have something to aspire to follow. And look, all of us have that power to be able to create a model where someone can say, one day I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go back to school. I'm gonna write the book, or whatever the thing is. All of us have that power.
You are my inspiration. I want to say that.
Thank you.
Yes,
I love seeing you move and shift and grow and just be bold enough and courageous enough to do the things that, they're a little fearful, but you know what? It's like that you're greater and grander on the other side of it.
Yes.
And then there's so many women that are watching you. We know there's so many watching you from that photo. The photo was just phenomenal. It was beautiful.
But the event was beautiful in itself. I loved it.
Yeah, we got to thank Mickey Taylor so much for coming up to the DMV and sharing her greatness. She is amazing.
That was beautiful. The nuggets that she left, it was amazing.
Yes, and that's just like a tip of the iceberg. Like, I've done some collaborative stuff with her. She is powerful. So anyway, thank you for being here. How can people connect with you if they want to learn more about Elite
They
coaching?
can go on, we do have Elite Life Coaching Facebook page. We do have Elite.org on Instagram. You can follow me on Tori Inspires blog, which is my personal page, but a lot of people love the pictures that I do there. I mix it with life, family, food, everything. And Tori Rogers Ball, and I'm on LinkedIn. I just started straightening things up and started getting things right because like I said, my show is coming out Monday for Launch Your Life.
Woohoo! Thank you so much. I want to thank all the folks who are with us as well on Facebook. Hi, Nancy Alert. Good to see you. Hello, Stasha Sims. To Jerry Brackens, thank you for being with us. Let's see, Nikki Pearson. If God called you to it, he gives you what you need to do it. I like that. Yes, Nika says change is progress. Marilyn, thank you so much, guys, for being here with us. Please share this out as we move into our second part of our first segment. We're going to take just a 1-minute break. Thanks so much to Tori for being here with us. We will be right back.
We have powerful words. We have powerful minds. We use our voices and freedom takes flight. And we're ready to work. We're ready to win. We have a strategy and now we can begin. We are standing bolder, shoulder to shoulder. Playtime is over. Playtime is over. Now you are a champion. God is my witness. Imperfect perfection. Living my mission and winning. See, we are influencers. We have fear but don't stop. I have the confidence to rise to the top. We are standing bolder, shoulder to shoulder. Playtime is over. Playtime is over. All I need is inside of me. I am enough and now I see. Yeah, I will reach my destiny. Yeah, I don't need your permission. Yes, I'm on a mission. I'll win. Oh, oh, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Now listen, I want y'all to repeat after me, okay? Because we're going to make some declarations in here today. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. I'm building my legacy for the whole world to see. You say. I'm building my legacy for the whole world to see. Say. I'm building my legacy for the whole world to see me. Say, oh, say I'm building my legacy for the whole world to see. You say, we are standing bolder, we're shoulder to shoulder. We are standing bolder, we're shoulder to shoulder. We are standing bolder, shoulder to shoulder. Playtime is over. Playtime is over. Hey, yeah.
All right, we are back. We just finished up with the beautiful Miss Tori Ball of Elite Life Coaching, and we're kind of continuing that whole conversation about women being our best and showing up in the world in greatness. Yeah. Oh, I like the way they have my little logo thing in the bottom. Okay, I just noticed that. I'm not even supposed to look at the. You ain't supposed to look at the screen. You're supposed to look at the camera, but
it is.
You know how it is when a woman sees something like, oh, you can't help yourself. So my next guest actually has been here before. She did a performance for us, and she talked just a little bit about her company, her organization. We'll talk about that. And I was like, oh, you gotta come back. You gotta come back. So here she is. She's back. Her name is, can I say this officially, Dr. Trinace Richardson.
Thank you.
She is a premier keynote speaker, a powerful preacher, passionate vocalist, and forward-thinking founder of Real Women. Real Women is a women's membership community that creates safe spaces for women to do personal development work on themselves through interactive, live, and virtual sister circles. Trinace also mentors and consults leaders, writes books, sings, and speaks for churches and businesses across the country and abroad. She's married and she's a mom of 2. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, it's good to be back. Thank you.
So I was kind of teasing you, saying, okay, Skinty Minty.
And I gave it right back. Skinty Minty. All right. I gave it right back.
So what you been doing? What you been up to? Let's talk about that first, and we'll jump into real women. Because you've been doing some serious personal development and self-care.
Yes. So it's really easy for us to tell everybody else what to do and how to improve ourselves. And
you
then
should be doing this, girl. You should be doing that.
Yep, absolutely. I'm empowering y'all.
Yes.
And then we put ourselves on the back burner, and in the winter I hibernate. So that's what I call it. And I end up inside and eating what I want and just storing it all for later. So that's what I call it. So what I decided was I was tired of feeling bad from the inside out.
Yeah.
And what happens is it does start on the inside, and then you start, your habits, your actions start reflecting what's going on with you. So I just decided, I'm going to put myself on the forefront. And I started doing some things. I started with what I enjoy. So I started with some activities I enjoy. So, girl, I'm playing kickball.
I love that.
I'm playing kickball.
You know what? You know why that resonates so much with me? Because I've been, again, I had this conversation with Tori and some other people that I'm in a season of discovering what I like to do again. Because I feel like I've been so stuck in mommy mode for the past 14 years because my kids were little. Like now they're like, my boys, they're 10 and 11. They're about to be 11 and 12. And they're like, they don't even... I used to put the key in the door, they go the key, and they would come running down the steps. Mommy. Now, I come in, I put the key in the door, nothing. I open the door, I slam the door so they can know I'm home, nothing. I have to go find people in my house now, right? So the dynamics of my household and my family is shifting. And I find myself in a season where I'm like, what do I like to do? And part of me really wants to take some dance classes.
Oh, good.
Like, I want to do rumba and salsa. And I don't know where to find that at.
No. So let me help you because right at the beginning of this, I just decided I need low to no cost just so that I don't have any excuses. So I went to the Parks and Rec Guide and started there. And whether it's the Parks and Rec Guide or the community college nearby, they have something. So just starting there. I mean, we all love to go and finance a personal coach or a personal dance teacher and all, but So community college, the Parks and Rec Guide, you can find something that way. So that's where I started, and I started looking at my son, my 9-year-old. I homeschool him. So I started thinking about, do I want him to see me inactive, or do I want him to get active as well? So I started with kickball because that's something he loves to do. And then also we start doing walks in the morning instead of us just starting. It's okay, come on, we can talk to you.
Really? And see that whoever that is, I mean, you ain't watching the show. Okay, go ahead.
No worries. So we start walks in the morning together just to get activity going, and he was so proud. He did 4 miles the other day.
Is so
and so
awesome.
he was so proud. We walked 4 miles. So that got my ball rolling. And then I began to eat low carb. I just started easy, low carbs, high protein, and just started taking away some things that I would normally eat. And it's amazing how much better you feel. And it's a physical, more energy type thing, but it's also on the inside. I just feel like I have more to give because, and that's all it is. It really is feeding yourself first, putting your mask on first so that you have something to give somebody else.
I mean, so many things that you said in that. I took my kids to the pediatrician yesterday, the day before yesterday. What's today? Wednesday, Monday. And she said to each kid, do you have at least 1 hour of activity every day?
Oh, Lord.
Like, oh, Lord.
Because you know that's coming back to you, right?
Exactly. It comes right back to you. So I'm saying to myself, I was like, well, what had happened was, but it was a reminder that we need to be active as a family. And we used to be, and I don't know when we went through this kind of phase of becoming more inactive. I think it's because the kids got older and they like video games.
I was going to say electronics.
And it's everything that they give to kids promotes being inside, sitting on your butt, not doing anything. So I am looking forward to us getting back into a more active life so that the next time we go after the pediatrician and she asks that question, we'll be like,
I do.
Sure
she made me go out and walk all
And we
the
used
time.
to do, like you were saying, we used to walk the lake. There's this big lake, Costco Park, right in Clinton. We used to walk the lake a couple times. We would go to the playground, and now everybody just wants to sit and play video games. So for me, it was a reminder. But I love seeing the transformation. So tell us, because I always like to use the word release. Are you sharing what you've released?
Yeah, I don't mind. So since January, honestly, I fluctuated so much. But since I really gotten focused on it in January, I've lost 17 pounds.
Woo!
Yes.
17. And you can always see it like in your face and your neck first. That's how I know I'm not as consistent as I was, because I can start to see it in my neck and my face. It's always there first, and then everything else.
I was doing the Facebook Lives and the videos and all that stuff, and couldn't even watch them afterward because I was like, oh, she got a couple of chins.
Wait a minute. Let me tell you.
Got a couple of chins.
Wait a minute. That daggone Sade do. She posted a video from last year. I was at her conference. I was like, oh,
who is that?
Girl, I was like, who is that? Take that. I didn't tell her to take it down.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, girl, I should tell you.
You just got to say, look how far I've come.
That seriously, that is, and it's a reminder to keep on the path.
Yep.
Like even when you fall off, because I feel like I haven't been 100% ever since I left for Africa. I was telling Dr. Trinice this, and I'm like, I want to get back to 100%. I do it kind of like half and half.
Right.
50% of the day I do, and 50%. And it's like, no, because I feel better when I'm doing it consistently.
Right.
So I'm definitely back on, trying to be 100% back on. But I didn't realize it was going to be that hard once I reintroduced carbs and sugar. The body.
Can I say something about that?
Yes.
Consistency ends up being our issue with most things in our lives,
true.
right?
So true.
So the idea of not being consistent, it really is making it our lifestyle. And honestly, the period of going to Africa and enjoying yourself, that is a blip in the screen to your lifestyle. You have made it a lifestyle. So it really is just a blip in the screen when you think about your level of consistency. Because the thing is, when it's consistent for you, it always comes back to mind when you get out of order. You know, it's like, I gotta get back in order.
You just speaking truth. All truth, because in the back of my mind, I'm like, come on, Cheryl, come on now. You gotta get refocused.
You know
and I'll start the day off good, have a little boiled egg, my little apple, and Cheryl, by dinner, I'll be like, where the cheesy biscuits? Where's the cheesy biscuits?
Not the biscuits, the cheesy biscuits.
For Red Lobster. Somebody pray for a sister with the cheesy biscuits.
Yes.
So I know that you talk a lot about, we're going to shift into a different, which still I feel like it's part of balance, right?
Yep.
But you have this organization, Real Women.
Yeah.
First of all, is Real an acronym?
No, it's not an acronym.
It's not an acronym.
It literally is the word real.
When did you start the organization? Why did you start the organization? And how are you helping women?
Yeah, so thank you. I'm excited to share this with you. So Real Women is, as you said, a membership community. We started as a formalized membership community in 2016, the very end of 2016, where we offered women the opportunity to come in a structured space. But in 2013 is when it was really birthed. And it was birthed in 2013, what I probably thought was more of a Bible study than anything else at the time, just being so spiritual. So I was being so saved. And so I was.
I love you.
I started it honestly out of my own brokenness. So the idea was, I was in church and I was church leader, full-time ministry church leader. I was in education, a leader, award-winning professor, and dean of faculty in education. And then I still did women's ministry stuff. I still preached in other churches and did a lot of things. And I was pouring out so much that I did not take time to be poured into. And nobody bothered to slow me down to say, how you doing? Are you okay? What's going on? There's just an assumption there that you're okay.
That you got it together.
Yeah.
You're good.
And so it got to the point where I used to be really sensitive about family first. I used to be really, and I just lost all of that. If you've ever seen, your pastor, the male people, it's easy for them to put the family behind and the woman kind of take care of the family and all that kind of stuff. Girl, I was that female on the other side doing the male thing, just really not putting my family first, really just sacrificing time and energy and attention to them to do what I believe God was calling me to do. And it was just on the other side, just really jacked up. And so it got to the point where I didn't know what was going to happen with marriage, with family, with anything, and I had to do something different.
Yeah.
And so I would call it really an emotional breakdown for me, because I couldn't take it anymore, the way that I was living, not being poured into. And so through counseling, through prayer, through literally just sitting in my bed, laying in my bed for days at a time, I saw my husband one day looking up how to help a depressed spouse.
Wow.
And he didn't know I saw it, but just that idea of I need to be poured into. What I ended up saying was, you know, I'm not vulnerable with anybody. I'm not open with anybody. I act like everything is okay, and things are not. And I get to cry on my bed like everybody else, but other people come to somebody for some help, and I don't. And so I couldn't find the authentic space that I needed. And I know we throw that word around a lot, but I needed it somewhere where I wouldn't be judged, where people wouldn't be like, oh, you have those kinds of
you're
problems?
The leader. You're the
Not you. So I didn't need all of that. I just needed to be able to be me. And so I created it. And so we started this, and it's so funny because anybody who was there the first time would laugh because I'm a preacher, I did it the way I knew to do it, right? So listen, we had drums. We had, at a library. We were at the PG County Library, and we had a keyboard, drums, a praise and worship leader. We had praise and worship. It was ridiculous. And so in the middle of it, I apologized, and I said, this is not what God gave me to do for us. This is not what I envisioned. Come back next month. I promise you it'll be different. And from then on, we literally sit in circles, and we have a conversation. And it's not me talking to everybody else the entire time. It's a facilitator facilitating a discussion so that we can talk about the stuff that women deal with. And we do it in a safe space. You know, you can be saved and cuss in there. And can I say that? Is that all right?
That's real. I love that you call it real women. That's real.
You can cry. You can celebrate. You can share your struggles. You can get angry. It's an opportunity. We come with a focused topic. And by the end of it, by the end of the 2.5 hours or so, we leave with practical takeaways. But in the midst of that, we facilitate a discussion so that everyone is heard. It's a beautiful
powerful
space.
That is beautiful. I mean, there really is so much authenticity in everything that you just said, and transparency to be willing to say. And I tell people that all the time. I just frame it a little bit differently about leaders having a space where they can, I like to say, break down and have your ugly Oprah cry. And still have the people tomorrow respect you as a leader still.
Absolutely.
And regardless of where they see you. And it's not a lot of spaces where we can do that. So I value your honesty in saying I was having that emotional breakdown. I know what was going on. And, you know, I will say, even for myself, I felt like, again, I'm in a different season. It's amazing how you go through seasons in life. And I'm in the season where I'm just like, I just want to live life. I want to love life. I want to travel with my family. I want to have a good time. And for the past 7 years, like, really, it's been all business. But look ahead, I need a break.
Absolutely.
I mean, I love what I do, and I love serving, but there has to be balance, your word, that balance of, it can't just be all this thing. And so I was on the grind, head down, and I'm looking up like, okay, what am I missing? I'm missing a lot of stuff because I'm not pulling in some level of balance. And so now I'm in this beautiful space where I love my business, I love doing what I do, I love supporting, helping women and speaking and all of that. But that's not the only part of me that's alive. There's so many other pieces of me. And I love that, you know, my kids and I, we go over to the track and we do go-karting. Or my husband and I just sit on the couch for a couple hours and spend time watching a movie. I mean, we didn't watch daggone Wakanda so many times. It's like, for real? Really? We should be in the movie. We should have some style or something. So I love that you have it focused where everybody can be heard. So do you keep it at a certain number of people? Is it you know, intentionally an intimate space? Talk about what a person would experience other than outside of the facilitating of the groups, like what size, all that kind of stuff.
Yes. So this is what's beautiful about it. So the goal is to have access to a sister circle, every single woman, no matter where you live. So that's the BHAG. That's the big, hairy, audacious goal that we have in mind. No matter where you live, you will have a local sister circle near you. So what we've been able to do in the DMV is we started with the Prince George's County Circle. And so we've been able to break that one off into a Charles County Circle.
Awesome.
And we're in Charles County. And in Baltimore, we have a sister circle. We have one coming in Northern Virginia. We have one in Hampton Roads, Virginia. So, and then we have a young adult Real Women, so that those 18 to 35 have a space. So you can imagine what happens is it breaks off so that it's closer to you wherever you live, and you can choose to be in there. So we say, as long as there are 5 to 10 women in a room, we can have a sister circle. Because we can feed off of each other. other. Typically, there are anywhere from 10 to 20 women in the room on average. Depending on the topic or, the time of the year, whatever, we might have about 30 women in the room. But the idea is no matter what, we're in a circle and we're sharing space with each other. So every single Saturday almost, you'll be able to find one. All of that information is on our website.
Oh, it's every Saturday?
So what happens is every circle meets once a month.
I got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So you can find a circle
throughout the entire month somewhere.
Exactly, somewhere. And when you become, so you can just attend and not be an all-access member. So if you're in the area or you're near or want to come, you can come to a sister circle. First time you're a guest, you get to experience us, get all of this love soaked in, and then decide if you'd like to continue coming or not. If you like to continue coming, then you come and you just pay $20 to come for 3 hours. We feed you, we pour into you, you get prepared topics and all those types of things. But if you decide, you know what, I want to grow with this community. This is a safe space where I want to grow. You become an all-access member for a low to no cost monthly or annual fee, whichever one you decide, and you get to go to all of them. So you literally could go to any sister circle. So just like there's a sorority or somewhere that has a local chapter wherever, and you can go to all of those meetings, it's the same way with Real Women. So that's how we structure them, so that and we have connectors who are helping us establish sister circles in new areas. So
it's so beautiful. That's so beautiful.
We're growing.
Yeah,
we're growing.
Women need other women.
Absolutely.
I mean, it is just my daughter tried to get me to have another child. We're not having that conversation though. Ain't no more. I'm done reproducing.
Yes.
My
equipment is gone, so it's not happening at all.
Me too. It's gone. It's done. But she wanted a sister so bad, and I'm like, well, you can find a really good friend, but you have to. And we talk about friendship and how to really see who really is your friend and who's not. But I always talk to her about the importance of women needing the support of other women. Like, don't ever try to do it alone. Be alone, because women understand women different than. I can talk to my husband. It's not going to be the same if I talk to my sister. I could tell my husband, babe, I just got booked for a gig. It's paying me $10,000. He's like, oh, that's good.
That's
really,
wonderful.
babe?
That is
really?
wonderful.
That's the response, babe?
That's
really?
nice.
I call my sister. She'd be like, yeah, girl, we gonna turn up, right? It's a whole different reaction. And it's that way with any topic or issue or whatever might be happening. It's like it's a different understanding, I believe, from woman to woman versus in any other space. So I love that you're creating that space. Yes.
I just wanted to say, for some women, they haven't had that girl experience with women, and it keeps them from women connections. I was going to ask you,
are there any challenges?
Well, it's interesting because we just don't have it in our circles. We set the tone at the very beginning, and they laugh because I have a little subtle move, and all the facilitators know it. Well, I'll just get up and if it looks like it's going awry or somebody's being a little too judgmental or whatever, I'll just get up and just come quickly and calmly, and then we steer it into another direction. So it very rarely goes there in our circles. We really just cultivate a wonderful space with each other. But what keeps some women from coming, even from risking and taking the step to be in a space with other women and to reveal some stuff with some other women, is that they've been hurt before with other women. And I would just say, take the risk. It's worth the risk to try again, because there are some of us out here who are not looking to compete with you, who are not looking to be jealous of what you have, hate on you, gossip about you, all those types of things. We really know we need it, and we want to be able to give it to other people. So just take the risk.
Don't give up on. And I mean, I've had my own stint of relationships that went awry, didn't go the way I thought it was going to go, friendships, whatever. It is what it is. But look, if I lose love, I go search for it again.
Absolutely.
So,
right. You don't stop.
You're not looking for a man just because that one was bad.
That's a good point, Cheryl.
You go out and you get a new one.
That's the truth.
So, okay, we can do the same thing with our sisters, right? It's like,
Absolutely.
okay, maybe that one was for a season.
Absolutely.
Right? And it doesn't mean that it was all bad. It was for a season, and that season is done now. I'm moving to another.
And truth be told, we've probably been the one who wasn't the best friend to somebody. I mean, you know, truth be told, I haven't been the best friend. I keep hitting my mic. I haven't been the best friend to some people, and so I've got to be humble enough to realize, you know, I need this, and I need to be open to being this for someone else too.
And that's why sometimes it is the season, because you you need to learn something to be
That's
a better
good.
friend
That's
to a
good.
person, right? Like, you're right.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is. It's like, you know what? That relationship could have probably went differently
Yep.
had I had this skill set.
Absolutely.
And you develop that over time. You develop that through opening yourself up, through
Yep.
other experiences. So I just love everything about that. I'm going to have to come to...
Thank you, girl.
Do you always have them in the same places? Or
Yes.
do they move around?
Yes, so we are in PG County, because I
Right.
know that's where you are. In PG County this month, we've been there for 2 years. You know Candace Camille,
Right.
the Pure Euphoria Wellness Center. We've been there for 2 years, and this will be, June will be our last time there, but we'll be sharing all of that information about where we'll be next, the next transition site. But right there at Pure Euphoria Wellness this coming Saturday, so if you're in or near PG County, we would love to see you at 11 a.m. At the Pure Euphoria Wellness Center. And again, you can go to realwomenrock.org to check us out. And we're there every second Saturday. And then fourth Saturdays, we're in Hampton Roads, Virginia, and Baltimore, Maryland. And then on first Saturdays, we're back in Charles County, Maryland. And all that is on the website.
So ultimately, the big vision,
Yeah.
like if we're looking, I don't know, let's just say 3 years down the road,
Absolutely.
what will be happening with Real Women? She's like, oh, I got goosebumps.
Yes, because I see it. I see it.
I love it. You got to be able to see it before it ever
Absolutely.
manifests, right?
Absolutely, I see it. So we are nonprofit, and we are securing our 501c3 right now. Yes, I'm so excited. And so in 3 years, we will be across the country. So the growth is, it's starts the way that it starts, and then it accelerates and picks up. And we're in that acceleration phase where people are calling saying, we want you here, so how do I do it? And we have a process to get that started. So we will be sister circles across the country and abroad. We host an annual intensive every year where we bring all of the sister circles together.
Nice.
So
Yeah,
we're
that's
like
really
Hampton
nice.
Rose in the house,
Right.
Baltimore in the house.
Everybody representing,
yes.
right.
And we call it a sister circle on steroids because it's like 2 or 3 days of us just digging in deep to grow together. And so September 14th through the 16th is our intensive coming up this year, and we're calling it a Voyage to Remember because we're going to be in Virginia Beach right on the water.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
So we'll be hosting those, and so those will have hundreds of women attending those in 3 years. And we will have the kind of budget that allows sister circles to be sponsored by organizations and companies and businesses to just sprout up because they're being sponsored by folks. So I'm excited about that. And then I'll be all over the place talking and speaking about it. So,
well, look, well, first I got to say, I have to, if you guys haven't heard this, that Dr. Trinice actually is going to be one of our featured speakers at A Woman's Narrative.
Yes! I'm so excited.
A live one-day summit where women are sharing their stories and just powerfully using what they've gained in life, the skills, the characteristics, what they learned through their failures and their challenges, and they're taking that and compiling it into a presentation that serves people who are there, who show up in the audience. As a part of that, we have Miko Branch, who is the co-founder of Miss Jessie's hair products. She's going to be there with us as well. But Dr. Trinice is going to be one of our featured speakers on October 20th.
And thank you for doing that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what? It's like the longer you do something, right, you realize which parts you love and which parts you know you should be doing more of.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty for me in business, is that I get to say, you know what? I'm not crazy about that part too much. I don't want, but you can't change something that you don't start.
Exactly.
So I only know that because I started it and I was consistent. I'm like,
you
that's
grow
not
through
really
it.
my lane. Like, this is my lane. And I love playing in my lane. I love doing what brings me the greatest joy. And a part of that is creating platforms for other women to, because I know what it feels like when you're like that person, and not that this is you, but you're that person who's like, oh my God, you know, I'm supposed to be speaking. I'm supposed to be speaking not just to a room with 20 people, like that's fine to start there, but I'm supposed to be speaking to a stadium, or I'm supposed to be speaking to an audience of 300 or whatever. And I know sometimes really good people with great stories don't get those opportunities. So for me, I think a big part of this next season is creating more of those opportunities. So you guys will hear me talking about A Woman's Narrative. I'm planning on taking that global. I want my next stop to be Paris.
I'm with you.
I'm in talks with a hotel about hosting it there in Paris in May of next year. So just continuing to grow, and but I love what you're doing with these sister circles. Real Women. Give them the website one more time.
realwomenrock.org.
Real Women Rock. Come on now. And then tell us about the book before we wrap up.
Absolutely. So we wrote a book together. I have a core team. Shout out to the team. They are awesome facilitators and team members. And the core team wrote a book together called Real Women on the Journey, a traveler's guide for everyday life. And it's a compilation of all of our life stories. And then at the end of each story, you get to write your journal reflections. We ask you questions at the end. So it really is a sister circle in a book. You get to interact with us.
That's beautiful.
Keep
up the great work. Thank you for coming back. First, you blessed us a few months ago with song. I mean, she tore down the house, y'all. And now you bless my soul with this whole idea of having these sister circles and manifesting it so that women have a safe space to go and just be a woman.
Yes.
We need that so much. So thank you for being the person who is creating those platforms.
Pleasure to be here.
So, Dr. Trinice Richardson, make sure you connect with her. Thank you so much, Melissa, for being here. Melissa is like, take the risk to try again.
Yeah.
Melissa, congratulations. # Real Women Rock.
Yes,
Joy Pinckney says, I love this. Hey, Nicole, thank you for being here. Janika, thanks for being here. Tamara, Natasha, Natalie, Bonita, hi, how are you? Robin Williamson, thanks, guys, for being here. Please share this out. Dr. Trinice Richardson, thank you so much. Real Women, girl. Woo! Look, y'all, look, ladies, you need to make sure you get in on a session or some sessions. Join the membership. You owe it to yourself to invest in you, not just professional development and growth, business growth, but personal. Who are you at your core? You have a safe space to be vulnerable. I love that you use that word, because a lot of us, especially for myself in the African American community, we're raised to be strong Black women, but we are not taught to be vulnerable. And what that looks like, and what it looks like to surround yourself with a group of other women who give you permission to be vulnerable and still respect you, right? And still respect your leadership. So thank you for creating such an amazing, powerful platform.
Thank you.
All right, guys, I'm going to see you guys there at some of these sister circles, right? We're going to go. We're all going to come. We're all going to get our membership. We will take a quick break, and we're going to be back for our second segment with our next guest. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.
We have powerful words, we have powerful minds. We use our voices and freedom takes flight. And we're ready to work, we're ready to win. We have a strategy and now we can begin. We are standing bolder, shoulder to shoulder. Playtime is over. Time is over. Now you are a champion. God is my witness. Imperfect perfection. Living my mission and winning. See, we are influencers. We have fear but don't stop. I have the confidence to rise to the top. We are standing bolder, shoulder to shoulder. Playtime is over. Playtime is over. All I need is inside of me. I am enough and now I see, I will reach my destiny, I don't need your permission, yes, I'm on a mission, I'll win. Now listen, I want y'all to repeat after me, okay? Because we're going to make some declarations in here today. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. I'm building my legacy for the whole world to see. You say, I'm building my legacy for the whole world to see. Say, I'm building my legacy for the whole world to see me. Say, oh, say I'm building my legacy for the whole world to see. You say, we are standing bolder. We're shoulder to shoulder. We are standing bolder. We're shoulder to shoulder. We are standing bolder. Shoulder to shoulder. Playtime is over. Playtime is over.
All right, guys, we are back. We are back. Look, I got to give a huge shout out to the amazing Tammy Turner, who wrote, produced, and performed that song at the Playtime is Over annual conference in November. And we have just, taken it on, as I announce every week, as our anthem here at Impact the World Radio. And we love it. I mean, every time I come in here, no matter what I've been doing, I come in here and I get to rocking, I get to shaking, I get to snapping. And it has that little oomph to it. So thank you so much, Tammy Turner, for sponsoring that song for us here at Impact the World Radio. All right, my next guest is a powerhouse, and you're going to find out why in just a moment. Her name is Makiba Clay. She is a dynamic and engaging global leader who has a distinguished career that has garnered accolades from professional organizations and associations, as well as international organizations and national publications. As a diversity and inclusion expert and leadership strategist, she is a notably sought-out author, speaker, trainer, and consultant who has worked for over 20 years with leaders in the federal government, local and state government, nonprofits, and educational institutions. She has presented keynote addresses, lectures, and workshops at local, state, national, and international conferences on issues related to diversity and inclusion, education equity, women's leadership and empowerment, social justice, and organizational change. Wow. That's all I can say. Wow. It is so good to have you in the studio. Welcome.
I'm so excited to be here, Cheryl. Thank you so much.
Well, first, look, let me start the conversation before we jump into your story and what made you get into this space of work, and just say thank you, because we were just talking about, with Dr. Trinice, we were talking about women and women kind of supporting each other and helping each other. And so when I went to South Africa, I guess it's been about a month ago. It seems like it was yesterday. We didn't want to come back. We did not want. I've never been on a trip where I didn't want to come back. I wasn't ready.
Oh, wow.
But we were not ready to come back. None of us, not myself or my family. But when I went there to actually be honored as a global leader. And I want to give a huge shout out to Tierra Destiny Reed. Thank you so much for honoring me for my work with girls and women. So, but I went and I was like, look, as a person who knows that I was born to speak, I'm like, I cannot go to South Africa and not speak to somebody. Absolutely. Like, that's just not happening. It can't happen. And so I tapped into my network and I said, somebody has to know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who can connect me with some type of speaking opportunity while I'm there. And sure enough, it was this sister here, Makiba Clay, who had a connection, and I knew that she traveled globally. I remember that, and I sent her a note saying, hey, this is my desire, this is what I want to do. And she connected me with Pearson Institute of Higher Learning in South Africa, where I was able to go and pour into about 55 young girls, college girls, and it was amazing.
I knew it would be.
Oh, my God, it was amazing.
I was so excited that was able to work out, Cheryl. I don't know if you remember, I'm actually named after a South African. So I come by my work, honestly. My father, who we just celebrated his 4-year anniversary of his transition on Sunday, and we did that by watching Mama Africa, my sister and I, screening that film, which is about a woman who was also a powerhouse South African woman who was not only a beautiful songstress, just a lovely voice, but also an activist, someone who stood up for social justice and human dignity, right? And so my father gave me that name, and it seems as if that breathed into me my destiny. This is the very work that I do. And so when you said you were going to South Africa, you asked me about a connection. I said, by all means, because I knew that you and your family would have a great experience, but then two, I knew that the women would just be all over you like they were.
It was amazing.
I saw the pictures.
And look, I'm going to be honest. Sometimes, I work primarily with women. I do serve young girls, but sometimes when you're serving younger girls, you're not really sure what the level of engagement is going to be, right? These girls,
they didn't want you to leave.
They already emailed me. It was like, well, can we do some more sessions either here or virtually through? Can you do? And I mean, their engagement level was amazing, which made it so much more amazing for me to know that I was really not just there speaking, but making an impact. You know what I mean? There's such a difference.
A huge difference, because what I've noticed being on the continent, and I've traveled all across the continent for 23, 24 years now, west, south, all over the continent. people are hungry, especially women, especially girls, because there is a gap. There's a gap around representation of powerful voices, powerful stories. They themselves have stories that are untold. And when someone taps into them and says, be your best, show up, and actually give voice to who you are, who you want to be, that's powerful. I've done a lot of work in Ghana as well. So I've done lots of tours and as well as cultural immersion programs. I've done a lot of lectures, keynotes in Ghana for Ghanaian citizens, South Africans in South Africa, but then also women, global leaders I've brought together on the continent in that context. And so it's just a very powerful process and journey for those women to have women who look like them, but who have, in some ways, different stories, right? They see us as these women who have so much freedom, so much access to things that they don't necessarily have in terms of their career, in terms of education. So for me, having spent 20 or so years in higher ed, working in a number of different institutions, I've worked at Princeton University, Johns Hopkins, University of Maryland, I've always tried to create avenues to create greater access internationally. So the work that I do is never insular. It's never been insular. It's always been thinking about, okay, how do we connect people? It's all about connections. By way of just an introduction about myself growing up, I grew up in upstate New York. A very homogenous community. We were the black family, so everybody knew us. Everybody knew us, so we had to behave and act right. My father's like, you representing us, you know? And so it really made an impact on me in a couple of ways. One, coming from a family that was very sort of spiritual, our faith was very important to us. Also, being one of the few people of color in the community, where I knew that I wanted to make a difference, not be the difference, but to make a difference. And so I always tried to show up and give voice to people who weren't necessarily there, people who weren't being treated properly. So for instance, I was always thinking about who's on the margins, who's not being lifted up in this situation. Even on the playground, I was like a little ambassador, a little advocate. You know? And so it's interesting to me as I reflect back to those days in my community in upstate New York. We literally, my father integrated us into a lot of situations, i.e. church. We traveled and went to international church 30 minutes outside of our community at one point. We traveled abroad, just as the experiences you're giving your children. We, always tried to put ourselves in situations where we were able to navigate life from a different lens, from a different perspective, not just being sort of the outsider, but really putting ourselves, inserting ourselves. And I remember when I wanted to change my name. I was a child, and I was like, being around all these white folks and messing up my name. And I'm like, they want to call me Mickey and all this other stuff. And my dad is like, no, you tell them you were named after a powerful African woman and why and what that means. It was such a shift for me, honestly. And I'm even emotional as I think about it, because my dad wanted to make a point to me. That name, you are carrying a legacy from behind you, that you don't just show up as who you are. Just like we talk about women being in our circle, you show up with all of that behind you, of all the struggle that has come before you. She, of course, Miriam Makeba, was on an international stage with the struggle fighting against apartheid and got exiled, for 30 years from her country, couldn't come back until Nelson Mandela asked her to come home. And so it really, the work that I do is speaking to that on a much smaller scale, I might say, that it's about speaking up, speaking out, and trying to give voice to those who don't have a voice. I do that in education instances. I've done it in organizations, cross-sector, around change, trying to think about, what are the leaders really saying here? What are the middle managers really experiencing? What are those line staff experiencing? They feel somehow marginalized in their workspace. They somehow feel like they're not at the table, even though management, leadership, CEOs might feel like, hey, we're inclusive, everybody has a chance to state their opinion. Well, often in organizations, we recognize that that's not necessarily the case. So the work that I do is multidimensional. It's looking at workforce diversity, that's representation, right? So a lot of times folks will say, yeah, a little brown kid over there, we got a Chinese staff over here. No, it's all of that. So it's the representation across our identities, so whether it be race, gender, and power. So who, not just, these representation around race, gender, but who's in positions of power and influence and who can affect change. Is it that you have all of your staff and employees of color or women who are on the front line? They're not in management. They're not making decisions. So there's the representation piece. There's also the piece around practice. So how does our stated practice turn into a culture within our organization? Why is it that some folks feel completely okay and feel satisfied with their work experience? They're top performers, they're being rewarded, and then there are others who may be singing a completely different song. And so I get into organizations and really dig in there and analyze, what are people saying? What is actually happening on the ground, and where's the gap between the two, and try and create a road forward. I do a lot of strategic planning, facilitation of difficult conversations.
So I'm going to stop you there because you have given us a mouthful. And I just, I'm listening. I'm very intrigued, and I want to give people a chance to swallow that.
Yes.
Right. Everything that you've said, because you've said so much. I feel like you've gone from the little baby advocate on the playground to this, advocate who is just making a way and paving a way for diversity in the corporate space. And I think it is important. There was something, and I can't recall exactly what it was, that came out through social media on Twitter, and it was some advertisement or something. I swear there's something every week. But I remember the conversation that was being had was, it's not that certain people weren't represented in the room. It was the decision makers. It was not that space was not diverse enough where somebody could make the decision to say, no, this is not right. This is not how this is going to go down. Similar to what was just done with the Roseanne show, right?
Yeah,
you got to have diverse people in power. So I love that you added that part. Not just in the room, but in power. In power, being able to make the final decisions about what commercials get put out, about what shows are allowed, what's not allowed. Like, all that stuff is so, so important. But I want to go back to what you talked about, kind of the beginning, because you said some powerful stuff. And number one was the impact that your father had on you.
Huge. And
really instilling in you a sense of pride about who you are and what you carry through your legacy. So are you a mom?
I am.
So how do you then take that? How do you use that and instill that into your child or your children the way that your father did?
I'm so glad you asked that, because that's my sweet spot. That really is so important to me, how I'm parenting. The journey that I'm on as a parent is so important. And my daughter will tell you, she's 6 years old, I am the child my mother prayed for. And she is absolutely right, because it took me 7 years to have this child. A lot of heartache, which is something we don't talk about openly, 2 stillbirths and a miscarriage. It was very painful. But we know the number in the Bible, I am a Christian, so my faith is important, is completion.
Yeah.
7,
absolutely.
She was born the 7th year of our marriage. And she is just a mighty, mighty force to be reckoned with.
And how could she not be? I mean, look at her mama. Come on now.
I just love her spirit, her compassion. She is a child of faith. I almost called her a woman of faith. I'm speaking that into the future.
Yes.
But she really, everything that she does, and I said, man, this child has been here before. She thinks about God. She thinks about how is what I'm doing reflective of my faith. I have poured that into her. I didn't realize how much and how deep, but it shows up in her conversations with me. She'll say, Mommy, she'll tell me when I'm misbehaving or what she perceives as misbehaving. And she'll say, I'm going to pray for you tonight.
Oh.
You're going on a prayer list.
All right, you're going on a prayer list. Come on now.
I try to tell her prayer shouldn't be
prayer list.
Prayer shouldn't be punitive. But she is just a child who I've traveled with. I think it's so important, travel. I mentioned earlier how that made an impact on my life early on, just like with your kids. My dad really wanted us to travel. And even before we traveled, we started getting a global lens by going to an international church, meeting people from all over the world. Our pastor was Italian. We had a Bible college that had a very diverse representation of global religious leaders. And so we were always around that. And I think that two things my dad taught me. One is to serve locally, right? So we were always doing public service, soup kitchens, volunteering here and there, but then also thinking about how we could impact internationally as well. And so doing missions work we've done in the past. I studied abroad in Spain and traveled all over Western Europe when I was a high school student, as did my sister, which was great. I know you have a twin sister. I have an Irish twin, which means we were 10 months apart.
Oh, well, my sons are Irish twins.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're 10 months apart. They're absolutely 10 months apart.
Yeah. So right now we're the same age.
Yes.
Until July.
That's my boys, October and December. So they're from October to December the same age. Yeah.
So we just grew up in that. It was just sort of the norm. And that's another way how I felt different than the folks that I grew up with in my direct community, because it was all about, they were very focused on just the local sort of, I'm here, I'm going to go to school, maybe go to college after, work in my parents' business, or become a teacher, or go off to nursing. That was fine.
Yes.
But from even my daughter's age, I felt like I was trying to bust out of a box.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Yep.
And my teachers would often talk about that I'm just an out-of-the-box thinker. My mindset, is just not there. It's always about, how do I push boundaries? When I do that in organizations, how do we push boundaries to think beyond what is in front of us?
Yes.
That's when you get at great solutions, which is why inclusive and diverse workforces matter.
Yes.
Mann posed this question about, I was on a panel, a session, and they asked, how do you manage the tension, as they called it, between diversity and inclusion and excellence? And I said, there is no tension between the two. I'm confused. I said, can we reframe the question? I said, because if you're not thinking about inclusion, if you're not thinking about diversity of thought, diversity of representation, you cannot be innovative. You cannot be excellent.
Absolutely.
You are deficient in whatever you're trying to deliver.
I love that.
You
are not
you're just
in
not.
a space. You are not functioning in a space of excellence. If you are not in the mindset of diversity and inclusion as mandatory, you are functioning from a space of deficiency, not excellence. Like that. As Oprah says, that's a tweetable. Yeah. Like you got to tweet that out. Deficiency, not excellence.
This is really what it is.
Yeah, that's powerful. So I love that. I am big on creating experiences for my kids and getting them to see things through a global lens, not just a local lens. I think that's very important. And I love that you had that set for you, that legacy, and then now you're passing that on.
This girl has been to Ghana,
that's what I'm saying.
In Ghana, she's come back and she says, "Mommy, we're going to do workshops. We're going to teach these kids." She's her talking about her preschool kids. This was when she was 4. So she came back and did 2 workshops for her, and I love it. I'll have to share the pictures.
But you mentioned a word earlier, which was access.
Yeah.
You're giving her access to something that's broader than just, my own backyard. Absolutely. Hashtag get on an airplane. Y'all know I always say it on my Facebook Lives. Hashtag get on an airplane and go somewhere else and experience other things and gain access. Then you bring that back to your community so that we can broaden our lens. So here's what I want to talk about now, because this time's going to go fast, because you just got a lot of juicy stuff. So we look at you, and we see this educated, powerhouse woman who has traveled the world and is just making her impact. Has there ever been a piece where your confidence was not what it is today? Because people often ask me, they'll see me on stage like, have you always been this confident? And my answer is absolutely not. Yeah. So have you always been that way because of what you had instilled? Have you ever been challenged with confidence or any other fear about who you are and how you show up in the world? And if so, how did you move beyond that?
Yeah, Cheryl, this is a very real issue, and I'm glad that you're being transparent yourself and allowing me to be. While I don't embrace fear, meaning I don't take it on and keep it with me too long, I do acknowledge when it creeps up. And I'm a journaler. I write a lot. And I recognize every time I'm about to do some sort of transition, or if there's an opportunity presented, a little little bit of fear creeps in, and I'm like, am I really equipped, capable, able? Can I show up? Can I do this? That's real, and I do feel it. It's fleeting, typically. Why? I think it's because of the core of who I am that says it is not just about me. It is about Christ working through me to help deliver. I rely on my faith. When I'm trying to show up all of me, it's hard, and it feels like a Herculean effort. But when I think back to God's promises to me about never failing me, never leaving me, and how I can do all things in His strength, I just say, am I bigger than God? No. So I can, in fact, do that. Specific examples, I remember when I got a call, two colleagues had nominated me for a position. I was here in Maryland for 10 years. I got nominated for a position at Princeton University. Wow, big league, I said, this is really amazing. And I was like, but I don't know. Something about the Ivy League. I don't know if I could fit in there, And my colleagues were like, this job was written for you. This is perfect. And then I called my dad, who was living in upstate New York at the time, and I said, Dad, what do you think about this? He said, girl, you better go get that job. What's the question?
What's the question? I love it. What's the question?
And so I just, had the opportunity and showed up and delivered, and it was just an amazing learning experience over the 8 years that I was there. But there are other examples, like when I decided to start my own business, it really was a couple of reasons why I decided to do that. I was caring for my dad, who was terminally ill at the time. So the business sort of happened to me as a result of those circumstances. I was also raising this powerhouse child who was a 2.5-pound preemie, born emergency C-section at 28
We have so
weeks.
much in common. My daughter was. My daughter was preemie. My daughter was born 11 and a half weeks early.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, stayed in and Johns Hopkins, NICU.
Oh, my God. Do you still go to the reunions? We go to the reunions.
I don't go to the reunions.
We go to reunions every July.
Something else to add to my calendar. All right, we talk after the show.
That's my husband. He's like, are we going to the NICU?
Wow.
Reunion?
Oh, that's
anyway,
awesome that you do that. That's fantastic.
So, yes, she was born at Johns Hopkins. So because of the culmination of all of these pieces of my life, it just so happened I was chatting with a colleague, talking about, some of the pressures, and then emerged an opportunity. The opportunity that emerged, I actually had to have a business in order to accept it.
Wow.
I actually had to have an EIN,
Right.
No business,
Right.
You got to have that business structure.
Yes.
So the person literally said, look, here's an opportunity. What do you think, babe? And I said, is this like a job, a gig, business? Yes. Go process, think about it, let me know. And so because of that, I ended up starting a business. And, I had been thinking about it. So it wasn't like the first time I ever thought about it. I had been thinking about it. And then that just sort of pushed me into doing that. And from there started.
All I know is this: your gift will make room for you, right?
Really
and it
does.
sounds like that is what has been happening in your life. Is that your gifts have been making room for you?
Absolutely.
And I love the space in which you function. I can't stop thinking about Daddy and what he instilled and how he emphasized that name. No, don't change the name.
Like
carried the what.
So do you know what that name
What you
is?
what you stated though, as you were kind of speaking, one thing that I really, really heard loud and clear was that even when the fear showed up minimally, right, and you were thinking about whether or not you should take that position, that once you took the position, this is what you said. You said, it was one of the greatest learning experiences of my journey. And that's what I want you guys to always remember. It's like, you can't grow if you won't even say yes to the opportunities that are presenting themselves, because you're allowing fear to hold you hostage to where you are, because you're questioning, am I good enough? Am I equipped? Can I do this? Can I fit into the Ivy League? Or for me, a couple weeks ago, do I fit into this space with all these people with these big titles, But you have to give yourself that permission to go, to give yourself the green light to say, there's something I'm going to learn from this. And really, I believe, if your life is really as fulfilling as you want it to be, that it's always going to be, you're always going to be a student. So you should always want to be in a space of learning. So every time I walk through a new door, that scares me silly. Yours might be fleeting, honey. Mine be like, what? my therapy showing up hard because I go back. It's all about my background, and my background is like, okay, are you good enough? Can you really do this? You don't have a college degree. You don't have it, but that's just fear showing up. Yeah. And I have to put all that to the side, and like you said, and know that I'm showing up in the strength of God, who equips me, positions me there. So if He positions me there, He's going to work through me. I can never fail. I cannot fail. Yeah. And so I just learned so much in those opportunities. I could talk to you all day. I could listen to you all day because you have a vast level of knowledge and experience and just the traveling and everything that you've done and that you are doing. And I know your future is just like, you're just going to knock it out of the park.
I'm really excited about my future. One thing I'll mention, you said you're going to Paris or working on a Paris thing. My 6-year-old has me planning this Parisian journey for her once she found out that my husband and I have been several times because he lived in the UK for 15 years, so we would hop all around Europe. But anyway, she says, I have to go. And she has this Eiffel Tower ring that she wears around, and she keeps telling everybody, I'm going to Paris. So we will be there in August.
I love it.
In addition to that, I've been doing more work in the arts and culture arena, which is sort of new. People think, well, arts and culture, aren't they open? Aren't they diverse? Aren't they thinking about issues of inclusion? Well, for a long time, especially museums, they have not been. They've been institutions that have the old guard is just there, right? It's been white, it's been very elite, very conservative in terms of, I'm talking about people who run the institutions, not necessarily the artists per se. And so I have a real opportunity. The last couple of years I've been doing some consulting in that space, helping leadership, mid and executive leader and boards think about how to be sort of thoughtful, planning ahead for the future, because we all know, looking at changing demographics in terms of audience, in terms of leadership, baby boomers are moving out.
Absolutely.
And what are those baby boomers who've been occupying the space 25, 30 years? They're all white.
Yes.
And so what does our audience look like?
Yes.
We're in it's a sea change. And I think people, not just in the art and culture world, tech is dealing with this as well.
Yes.
STEM, that whole arena, we're starting to think differently about. So if anything else, it is the business case for diversifying your institutions is really more urgent than ever. But I think it's also, in terms of the arts and culture, it's about the stories. We're talking about stories now, right?
Yeah.
And the stories that we tell. Think about how powerful it was when we saw the little girl, whose name I'm forgetting, saw that painting of Michelle Obama.
Yes.
I will never forget that, because a few years prior, Michelle Obama, in her remarks talking about the Whitney Museum, she says, it's a place that I didn't think belonged to me. The stories did not reflect who I am, so I had no reason to go there. Right. But think about the stories that we know occupy those spaces or could occupy those spaces, and how impactful they could be. And when I saw that girl, and tears literally came to my eyes, because I said, her life has been changed by an image. We don't see images of ourselves in positions of power, just magnificent presence.
Yes.
My daughter had a chance to also meet First Lady Michelle Obama a couple years ago when the Obamas were in the White House. We had been invited to this Black History Month performance for girls. And the pride that my daughter had, even at 3-4 years old, everyone who came to our house for at least 6 months afterwards, she says, I have to take you to my closet. I have to show you the dress that I wore to the White House. Can I show you what I wore when I met FLOTUS?
That's beautiful.
Think about that. Yeah. That's representation.
That's beautiful. I love it. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to tell us a little bit about these 2 books really quickly, but you got to do it like in 30 seconds.
Alrighty. So
then how people can connect with you.
I had an opportunity to be a part of your phenomenal book project, Women Inspiring Nations. I was just so pleased to be a part of this, Cheryl. And in here I talk about leading with faith and courage and juggling it all. And people often wonder, how do you get it all done? It doesn't happen in one big swoop, but it can happen. And I talk about that. Other women, 24 other women, talk about their journeys as well in work, love, and turbulent times as well. Yes. This is another book project I was a part of, Daily Dose, a 90-day journey to direct and guide women in business. So here I talk about crossing boundaries and borders. Whenever I find them, I try to hop over them in whatever way I can. And I try to do that with organizations as well, not to see boundaries and borders, but to see opportunities that they can leverage.
Yeah, shout out to Melanie Bonita. I know her.
Yes, Melanie Bonita is amazing, dynamic publisher, author, and women's advocate, just as you are. So you can find me in 2 different ways. It's probably several different ways, but how do most people, is it their website or is it their...
You can do both. You can do your website, and if you're on social media, if you want to
www.makibaclay.com, or if you're in the corporate world, igscg.com, Innovative Global Solutions Group. Twitter, I am on Twitter now. What is it? Makiba Clay. So I think you do the @ I'm so not a social media person, but I think it's @ Makiba Clay on Twitter. So.
Yes. For those of you who are on Twitter, you'll know how to find her. Just look her up. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your story. I don't think any of us will ever forget the story of your dad. We won't forget the story of the White House. We won't forget the story of your name.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me be in this space.
Absolutely. Keep being amazing and advocating for diversity and inclusion. It is so important and it is imperative. And I love that you're looking at it from, global, but also from a future perspective of what's coming, down the road. So thank you for being here. Guys, we're going to take just a 1-minute break and we're going to be right back with our final guest, Ms. Tanya Burnett.
We have powerful words. We have powerful minds. We use our voices and freedom takes flight. And we're ready to work. We're ready to win. We have a strategy and now we can begin. We are standing bolder, shoulder to shoulder. Playtime is over. Playtime is over. Now you are a champion. God is my witness. Imperfect perfection. Living my mission and winning. See, we are influencers. We have fear but don't stop. I have the confidence to rise to the top. We are standing bolder, shoulder to shoulder. Playtime is over. Playtime is over. All I need is inside of me. I am enough and now I see. Yeah, I will reach my destiny. Yeah, I don't need your permission. Yes, I'm on a mission. I'll win. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Now listen, I want y'all to repeat after me, okay? Because we're going to make some declarations in here today. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. I'm building my legacy for the whole world to see. You say,